everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Patty G Show. This week we are getting down and nerdy. That's right. We're going into IT with Brent Causey of Coretechs. We are talking about managed IT services, cybersecurity, and Batman and Robin. This just all packed in there. So I hope you enjoy this episode, brought to you by Lakeman's Health Center and PB&J Productions. And also, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. See ya. But so I want to start with your trailer smoker.
Okay.
Your most prized possession.
We're
rolling, man.
Okay. So a few years ago, couple years ago, I got a screenshot of a Facebook Marketplace post, and my buddy said, "Hey, this is a crazy deal on this thing."
That's how great stories start.
Yeah. And normally, those things are like 20, 30 grand. Well, this guy had it listed for $5,000.
Okay.
It's a Southern Pride, a rotisserie smoker, wood burning, gas assist, electric controlled. You can do like 40 briskets at one time. So I called the guy, and he was like, "Man, I've got all these offers." He's like, "If you want it," I was like, "I'll come right now. I'll give you $500 more than you're asking so I can have it." Showed up at his house, hauled it back to my house. We unloaded it, and ended up buying a trailer for it, getting it all set up. So it's become like, it's the, it gets used for church retreats, for turkey banquets, for Ducks Unlimited. And, everybody knows it's kind of the, I don't really charge people for it. It's just one of those things I have, community, whatever. It's hey, you need it, use it,
right?
Clean it out when you're done. But we've cooked whole hogs on it, briskets, ribs. I mean, whatever you. But
whole hogs?
Oh yeah, we've done whole hogs on it. Yeah.
How big are the hogs?
Smaller hogs, not like a huge one, but you can cook, if you packed it in there, it'll do like 40 something briskets at one time.
40? What size briskets?
I mean, big. Yeah, it'll do.
Okay.
It'll hold. It is a commercial, like what you'd have in a restaurant. So,
Jeez.
But yeah, my best Marketplace find, it's one of my most favorite. I mean, I used it for Easter cooking hams, like just in my driveway, throw a couple hams on, let it roll. But yeah, it's awesome. So
you use that for small cooks, like
I'll cook me and my wife hamburgers on. I mean, it's yeah.
So it's that easy to fire up.
Turn it on. As long as there's wood in it, you just turn it on, set the temp. It's like a giant pellet grill.
Wait, so it's like lump? Is it lump charcoal or just
wood?
It's
like firewood. Like.
So how does it?
Yeah.
It just has like a little.
It has a
starter fire or something.
It has a burner. has a wood chamber with a gas assisted burner, and it'll burn the wood and smoke, and the rotisserie will go. I mean, we've done it. 20 plus hour briskets. We can go all day, all night. So
that's insane.
Yeah. Very cool. Very fun.
Yeah. I'm in the pellet grill crowd. So I've got the Traeger, and I'm just kind of slowly building up my skill set.
Absolutely.
So I just did a brisket for the first time this past weekend for Easter, and it turned out very, very well.
Did you wrap it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think after 14 hours, something like that, and then we wrapped it.
Yep. Low and slow, wrap it up, and then a lot like what I do. And I was telling him on the way down, we were driving. We'll catch all the drippings. Put that when you wrap it, pour that in the wrap. Yeah, that's the game changer. Is getting all that goodness back in there. So, we do a lot of cooking for, whatever random stuff. We used to do a little bit of competitions back before I had kids, and all of our guys, we were single, and it was like a hobby that was fun. And then we all started getting married and having kids. Now it's like we do maybe 2 a year. So we go to the big RV park in Bunkie and do the, camp out and do the annual August, go sweat and cook brisket and ribs and chicken, and it's fun. But it's just something to do, like golf or whatever else you do. So,
just a big hobby that'll consume it all of your day, if not multiple days.
Exactly. And it's expensive because you're practicing. You buy a brisket to practice, you buy a brisket to turn in, you're buying, it's kind of like golf or hunting. You can get as deep into it as you want to. And so.
And I feel like also too, it also has an addictive flavor to it. The more you do it, the more you want to keep doing it.
Right.
Then it turns, I just only use it once a week. To now it's, we're smoking. Yeah. I took this brisket off and I put a butt on for the next day. Like the fire's never going out.
Exactly. That's exactly how it goes. So
I love it. So how does that, that gets you off after work? I kind of as your release away from the crazy world of IT.
Right.
So how we were talking a little bit before. How did you get into it? What happened to lead up to this?
Sure. So when I was in high school, they would actually I would get pulled out of class to fix computers or network problems or whatever. And this was in 2003, 2004, and then from there it just went from that to working at like a local PC repair type place. And then the school board actually hired me to be their network guy for the whole parish. And I
in high school?
I just graduated. So I graduated, and like 2 weeks later I started for the parish, and I was the server guy, network guy. We had 14 locations. I don't remember how, back then it was probably 1,000 computers, maybe more. And then, this was in 2000, like I said, 2004, 2005. So like we still had dial up, and it was just the beginning of what, has become the world of IT over the years. So I did that for a number of years, went to college, went to Louisiana Tech, and started working for a company that did like what we do now, basically IT services for small businesses. Did that for a number of years. And then for 10 plus years, I was the IT director for Lincoln Builders. They're a general contractor. They're in Dallas, Baton Rouge, Ruston, job sites all over. They've done work. They built the LSU practice facility. They've built apartments on LSU. They've built apartments at Louisiana Tech. I mean, big stuff in Dallas. So they're one of the it's the like top 400 general contractors in the country. So I was kind of their internal guy for years. And then when COVID hit, my wife and I were newlyweds. We're both at home. She was an assistant principal at the time. We're both working from home, and
That's
one of those
tough job during COVID.
100%. Yep. So we were in the same kind of sharing an office. We're sharing a room where, she's on Zoom, I'm on Zoom. And I was like, if we ever really going to do this and me kind of go out on my own, it's now or never. We had no kids at the time. And so we decided to, take some risk. And I made her agree to me. And I was like, look, if we go bankrupt and we have to start over, you're good, right? And she was like, yeah, I'm good. So once she agreed to that, I knew I was good to do this. So that's kind of.
Did you ever like sign a dotted line? Hey, can you sign here? I'm going to actually go out and do this.
I woke her up and I was like, hey.
In like the middle of the night, you asked this question?
Yeah, because I couldn't sleep. And I was like, hey, I think I'm going to do this. You good? And she's like, I'm good. So,
Did she wake up the next morning and recall what she had agreed to?
Yeah. Couldn't remember. The hard part was the CEO of Lincoln Builders at the time, Clint. Great man, great friend, great mentor. And so that was the hardest part for me, was telling him like, hey man, and he kind of knew. So at the time, like I said, we were all working from home. We were essentials. We were all still working. But I got to the office early because I was like, I'm going to beat everybody here. I'm going to be ready to face the music. And I pulled in the parking lot and his vehicle was already there. And I was like, oh, dang it. And at the time, he really wasn't even coming to the office much. I go in my office. He was in my chair, just waiting at my desk, just kind of smiling. And I was like, hey, man, what's up? And he was like, well, you ruined my... I didn't tell you this. I sent him an email because I know I couldn't tell him in person.
Right.
I was like, if I tell him in person, I'm going to cry. I know I am. Like, I love the man.
Yeah.
And so I sent him an email, kind of explaining what my reasons were, what I was going to do. And so I walk in, he's sitting there ready to go. He's like, hey, I want to quote, like, we want to become a client. So they literally went from internal IT into them becoming one of our biggest clients. Great client. It really was better for both of us because, I was there almost 10 years. So like, you get to,
you built the system basically.
Yeah. And you're somewhere so long, you end up like involved. You're doing so much more than IT. I was involved in so many different things. I was pulled in all these directions. Well, now that I'm a contractor and I'm the managed provider for them, I can focus on just IT. And so, and I'm not in the office every day, so I can't be pulled out for, hey, here's my kid's iPad. Can you look at this? Just little stuff like that popped up. That kind of went away because I'm not in the office, every day. So, but it was a great decision. I think they would agree, and my wife would agree. I'm a different person being an entrepreneur and working for myself and doing managed IT. So that's kind of how I got to where we are today. So
I love it. So starting out internally and creating that external managed IT, were you always going the managed IT route, or did you kind of dabble with break and fix?
So oddly enough, like I said, this was during COVID. Everybody was trying to get internet. Everywhere you looked, it was, kids were trying to do school from home. People were trying to work from home. And there were some areas where you couldn't quite get internet. There was no Starlink back then. There was a little bit of LTE hotspots. So what we did was we set up what was called a WISP, wireless internet service provider. So we basically leased towers, put equipment up 200 feet in the air, and beam wireless to homes. That was kind of what our plan was to do. And then I started, and of course we already had, I kind of already had while I was at Lincoln, I had a side business of doing managed services, selling phone systems, kind of just that technology person for like friends and family, people that had started businesses. And so we're like, okay, we're going to do the WISP thing. we start doing that. It's going fine, but I started looking at the numbers and I'm like, okay, 60 to $100 a month per house. Like, it takes a lot of those to make it worthwhile.
Right.
And and if there was an outage or, the internet was out or the power was out, my cell phone's getting blown up with all these people mad at me because they can't stream Netflix or do whatever. And so I finally got to a point where I was like, you know what? I think I want to focus on the managed IT. I saw the need getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Cybersecurity was becoming such a issue. And so we sold that piece of our business and really focused on the managed IT portion. And it's really just kind of gone from there. So we never really did break fix. I mean, we had a few clients that were kind of a hybrid model where they paid us a monthly fee, but then they also did by the hour. But as of today, we're 100%. It's either you're all in managed IT or you're not a customer, because for us, like, we found that we can staff better knowing, how many people we support. And we also found that a lot of people, like, they wouldn't call us because they didn't want to, they're like, well, if I call you, I got to pay you. They try to do it themselves. They'd end up breaking stuff. We'd have to come in anyway. So our fully managed, totally unlimited has been, gives people no hesitation to call us, and we can still support when we know how many people, how many devices we're supporting every month. And so it's been good for us, as far as hiring people and having the capacity to grow and all that, versus the break fix where you may have, 20 people call one day and the next, it's just random. So
right.
It's been really good for us to have that kind of, we know we're supporting X number of devices. So,
And I feel like the managed IT service as just an entire business model is relatively new.
Yeah.
Walk us through what that is for those that aren't aware.
Right. So, in the early 2000s, a lot of these businesses started as just like you mentioned, break fix, like, hey, I've got a business, I've got a server, I've got 20 computers. And like, when something breaks, I call you, fix it. We send you, or they send you an invoice. So, you show up to work, computer doesn't turn on, somebody comes out, replaces the power supply or whatever it is, you get an invoice. And then as the world has changed and cybersecurity has become a thing and backups have become a thing, and like, basically everybody's kind of, proactive versus reactive, managed services is, the whole ecosystem of everything related to technology. So like, an example customer for us would be, we sell them their internet, we sell them their phone system, we provide their backups, we provide all their cybersecurity, we provide help desk, like, hey, I need a password reset for this user, or I got a new person starting, to, hey, we've got a project where we need to, implement new software, or we need a new server. So it's basically the whole ecosystem of everything technology. We manage all of it we're one vendor to manage all the technology. We're kind of the internal IT, like if you hired someone, we're the outsourced version of that. So, it's for us proactively meeting with the business owners and figuring out, okay, what's next year look like? Are you expanding? Are you taking on a big project? Are you hiring? What's next for you? How can we help with that? How can we prepare? Hey, you've got 10 computers that are about to be out of warranty. You've got a server that's 7 years old, like kind of having that discussion and planning for them to what's next. So we're the all-in-one resource for IT for the businesses.
So you'll actually provide the internet for them, or you're selling it through one of the major providers?
It's depending on where the business is. We resell a ton of different vendors, but for our clients, they get one invoice with all of these services on it, and they know if there's a problem, they call us. So they say, hey, the internet's down. We can say, okay, is the router not working? Is it the switch? Is it the provider out? We handle it. It's all hands off for the business owner, for the businesses. So, it depends on what area of the state that their customers in, but we provide all different, depends on, like I said, where they are. There's different providers all over the state. So
that element is huge, because I know you've got telephone service provider,
right.
You've got internet service provider,
right.
Then you have your phone manager,
right,
which is different than sometimes your telephone provider. And so having just one number to call is huge. I can see that.
Yep. And like, we document everything really well. So like, if they call in and get our service desk, those guys we know their account number, and we know their, all the things about their business, so we can just take care of it. And it's like, hey, this isn't working, and we just take care of it for them. And so they pay us a monthly fee to be that manager, to be that, that resource of all things technology. So
how does your back end look regarding that little like dashboard for every client, right? So we operate an advisory firm, and we've got a handful of employees, and it's like every time we need to get something set up, we just say, hey, here's the user's name, here's their telephone number, and then you've got your standard parameters. What on the back end are y'all doing to make sure that that's so efficient? Right.
So we have a bunch of different tools, and this industry has really been around for now almost 30 years. So it's kind of, it was the Wild West in the early 2000s, late 90s, to where now it's kind of gotten more mature, where there are tools out there that help us manage, from passwords to documentation, even processes. So like certain clients, we know, okay, this person uses this software, say QuickBooks. You're probably familiar with that. And we know
pretty familiar with that.
Yeah. We know that QuickBooks has these weird caveats or these issues that they're going to have over and over and over. So we document that in a knowledge-based document that any of our technicians can look and say, okay, how do we update it? How do we, when it gives this error message, we know you delete this file and change this and it'll start working again. So we have software that does all that for us, manages our documentation. Our customers actually get a portal where they can log in and see everything we do for them is synchronized in one place. So our customers actually have access to look at like, okay, there's my invoices, there's all my estimates, there's all my users, there's my 365 licenses, there's all my line of business applications in one place. So for us, it's a spot where we can go look. Then for our customers, they can log in and see like everything in one pane of glass. They can look and say, okay, here's all the open tickets we have. Here's all the closed tickets we've had for the last 5 years or whatever. And that's been good for us to be able to be transparent. That's a big thing with us, is transparency, integrity. And so that portal gives us, there's no questions. It's like, hey, whoever our contact is, or the owner, or the controller, they can log in and see all that stuff in one place. So
I mean, you're being their outsourced CTO, CIO that's able to know the system in and out, because it's oftentimes cumbersome to have to call a help desk and then walk the person through the issue. Whereas if you're able to pull up that dashboard and say, okay, you run in this software or this program, all right, so we can likely assume it's this issue based on this self-generated kind of tool that our team uses.
Exactly.
Which I often find is one of the biggest hurdles with IT. Is like you've got so many different customers in everybody's environment. The variables,
it's all different.
There's so many variables.
Yep. It's our documentation. It's just like it's something we repeat over and over with our team, is like, I don't want to have to call you on your day off and say, hey, that weird thing you had to do for this client, what was that? Like, I want to be able to look it up in our software and see, okay, even if I log in and start working tickets, like I want to be able to help without having to call and bother and text and all that. So it's come a long way over the last 20 or so years I've been doing this. So
yeah. And for your training element, what are some training tools that you're using, or some training, I guess, insights that y'all have? They're like, we're going this route to get our people up to speed as quickly as possible.
We have a couple of different things. So we're actually part of a peer group, a paid peer group, where that kind of keeps us up on the trends, what other MSPs are doing across the country. We do weekly meetings online, and then we do quarterly in-persons. That's a big part of it, is going and saying, okay, what's the latest trend in this? What are people doing for, let's say, backups, for example? Well, the gold standard forever was this, and then for the last 5 years it was this one. Well, now these guys who started this company are starting this new one, and it's like keeping up. That's the biggest thing, is keeping up with the trends, keeping up with, what's the best, what's the most reliable. For our staff, it's like training, and then even like certification. So in our world in IT, a big part of what we do is, it's like a CPA has continuing education, where you go and get credits, and you can do those, like what do they call them, the CREs, or the
it's continuing ed hours.
Yeah, there's a word for it though.
There is. And I get it confused. My wife's a civil engineer, and so she's got her PDEs, professional development hours, but ours is CPE, continued professional education.
Yeah. So it's similar to that. We have certifications where it's like, if like I go and take a test on, Microsoft Exchange or on whatever product it is, we get certified in that, and then it's kind of just an accolade, or a certificate showing that we know what we're doing. It's like our staff, we pay for, like, hey, you want to go get a certificate in whatever, we'll pay for it. And for them, it's, it's making them better, it's making us better, and it's just them keeping up with the times. There's a million of them you can get now that are, voice over IP, or, certified in Microsoft's 365 ecosystem, which everybody uses. So we kind of encourage our people, like, as they know that, hey, if you want to go take a test, you just go take it. We'll pay for it. We provide the training if they want to, watch videos or do training. We can provide all that for them. So it's a win-win. The employees are getting better. We're getting better as a whole too. So even if they take 20 tests and leave us to go somewhere else, like, it is what it is, but we're all getting better as they take those tests. So
yeah, when based on what tests they took, maybe we can recommend it for some other people.
Right.
Because one of the things that it's like we are fully Office, right? So it's all Microsoft everything, whether it's Planner, which that tool fascinates me, but it also frustrates me.
Right.
Because I'm like, I wanted to do some things that it doesn't do.
Yeah.
And I've got the visibility as the admin, but I want my team to have this certain visibility where it's like we're using it as our whole operation system.
Right.
It's like it's crazy the extent that you can go through with that.
Yeah.
But it's also being able to be on your side where you can educate the people. And they're like, hey, Brent, we've got this issue where we're trying to figure out workflow. What's a good workflow software? And then you can say, well, here's what we've seen that works well in your industry.
Yeah. And that's really where our peer group comes in, because we're, it's hundreds of us that are in this group, and it's like there may be something new I don't even know about that gets brought up, like especially with AI right now. Of course, that's a buzzword. You hear it all the time, and it's like, how do we use that in our business? How do our clients use that? So like we just had an in-person meeting last week in Kentucky, and it was basically all about AI. How do we use it? How do we help our customers with it? How do you use it in the good way? So it's good for us to kind of, I had a boss ask me that years ago when I was internal IT. He was like, how do you stay on top of stuff? I'm like, we need to go to conferences. We need to be plugged in. Facebook groups. We have a ton of those that are just education. You're full-time learning, and because as you know, it's always changing. It's what was good 3 years ago, may not be the recommended solution nowadays. So
what was good like a month ago in IT
is
sometimes not a good answer.
As I was telling people, like, 10 years ago, virus protection was Norton antivirus. Everybody remembers that, or McAfee on their family computer, and it was like, you ran that.
It's called McAfee?
Or I think.
I always called it McAfee.
Yeah. I think it's McAfee.
I believe you over me.
It may be. I don't know.
It's like when you said it, I was like, well, I've been pronouncing it wrong for so long.
Is it McAfee? Joel, McAfee? McAfee? Huh?
It's McAfee.
McAfee?
Okay.
It's McAfee. But, that was like, you just ran that, or malware bites, and it was just pop-ups. It was annoyances. Well, now it's turned from pop-ups and to like actual extortion of money. Like we are literal Batman some days, like fighting crime from on the cybersecurity side, which is just crazy. I mean, it's just gotten wild.
So the cybersecurity side is a real topic.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's impacting every business, large and small.
Right.
So much so that like I've had a recent run-in with a company that had that trouble, and they took the stance of, well, we don't negotiate with terrorists, right? And
That's
so they're like, we're not negotiating with them. Like, it's going to be what it's going to be. But then there was never like a resolution or a removal of the threat. And so then you had the company's employees' socials just get out there. Then you had their birthdays and their home addresses. And so when you're in that situation as a managed IT provider, what are you doing on the prevention side? Because obviously that's the side everybody wants to be on.
Right.
But have you ever had to be put in a reactive state?
Absolutely. So what I tell people nowadays is not if, it's when. You will be hacked. You will be breached in some form or fashion, whether that's, one computer, your whole network, whatever. It's just inevitable, even if you're doing everything right. So we had a new client. They weren't a current client. They became a client. They had a different provider they weren't happy with. And as soon as we installed our tools on their systems, within less than 24 hours, our stuff alerted, hey, there's something going on here. And our tools we use, when it detects something major, it'll silo that computer from the network to where like the server disconnects. So like when our tool detected that there was something on, it cuts it off. So we get alerts. If it's a major alert, they actually call our phones. We have what they call a SOC, Security Operations Center. They'll call our cell phones like, hey, this is a big one. And we'll log in and check it out. So this particular client, that happened. We logged in, figured out exactly what was going on, and we got them out of the system, but wasn't maybe a few days later, the client gets an email from their gang. I mean, it's an actual gang that did it. And they said, hey, we're the whatever gang. Here's our Wikipedia page. Go read about us. Here's all the people we've hacked. We have your stuff.
We're legitimate. Yeah.
We're legitimate. And, of course, the state police get involved, FBI, Homeland Security got involved, and it turns into, it's a big deal because this client had a bunch of, customer records, socials, different things like you mentioned. And so, for us, what we tell people is, like I said, you're going to get hacked. We want to have a plan in place. We want to limit the blast radius is what I tell people. So we want to have all the tools. We want to have the tools in place that when your 365 account gets logged into in another country, we want it to automatically kill that account like instantly. We want if, your Windows computer your mouse is moving
and you're not moving it.
We want to know about it so we can stop it. We get it all the time. We get calls while they're actively in the middle of not our clients, but future, potential clients. We had one like about 2 months ago, a guy called. He's like, hey, I don't know you, you don't know me, but here's what's going on. My mouse is moving. It's not us. And we started, he had a provider he was paying. They're supposed to be doing this for him. We started digging into it. And it's like, well, this is what, and we figured out what happened. We had one about 2 weeks ago. A friend of mine called me, and she wasn't a client. And, in tears, I go over there, and I'm literally, as soon as I would disable an account, they would get into somewhere else. And so, like, we're literally fighting, like, I cancel this one, and they get into her, they were trying to get into her Facebook, and we're getting all these, her phone was just blowing up with 2-factor alerts and, phone calls and this craziness. And it's like, okay, we know they're in this account. Let's disable this one. Okay, we disabled that. Well, now they're in this account. And so it is legit crime, like every day what we do. It's gotten out of control.
Well, and the worst ones are the mom and pops that are making pretty good money.
Yep.
But they still don't think that they're of the size where they need a managed IT 100%. Service. And then you start having the email accounts get hacked.
Yep.
And then they get the call and they're like, we're holding all this information. We're going to sell it unless you pay us X, Y, Z. Right. And then they're just kind of stuck and they don't know what to do. And they don't even know who to call, really.
That's right. We hear that a lot too. Like, we're too small. We're just a little 2-person, whatever, locksmith or whatever, plumber in Ville Platte or wherever. We're just, but it's like, but do you have money in your bank account? Because that's all they care about. It's all about the money. We've heard all these stories about money getting wired, and, a lot of these hackers now, they'll actually, what they're doing is they'll cast a net of, thousands, and they'll pick up, 2 or 3, and then they'll sit there and watch. They'll wait and watch in their systems until they know you're on vacation, you're out of town, and that's when they attack. Middle of the night when we're asleep. It's that's one of our big, education points for us with clients is like, because people don't want to spend the money. It's kind of like insurance. I tell people it's like car insurance. Like, you don't want to pay for it, but when you total your vehicle, you're glad you have it because your $50,000 car is now worthless. And, and these business owners, it's an insurance policy, but also in Louisiana, if you are breached and your client list, whatever that looks like, if you're a plumber and all your clients get exposed or get breached, you have a legal obligation now
to tell them within
a certain amount of time. And if it's over, if it's over 100 records, you have to get the Secretary of State involved. I mean, you have to get the Attorney General involved. Yeah. So, we went from like, computers not turning on and fixing PCs and like, plugging in new monitors to this world of hackers. And what they're doing now, even on the ransom side, is what they do is they lock all the data. You've heard of ransomware,
right?
They lock everything out and you had to pay to get it back. Well, what they're doing now is they're not doing that. They're actually taking the data and saying, hey, look, I've got your data. You can either pay me or I'm going to tell all your clients that you're the reason that I stole their data. And so that's kind of what we're seeing now is they're actually taking it and, posting on the dark web or threatening, sending an email saying, hey, you got 24 hours to pay me a Bitcoin or I'm going to tell all your clients that you're a loser and you lost that you lost their data. You lost their social or their credit card number or whatever. So,
well, and then they're so bullish, right, that they're going to say, we're such and such organization.
Yep.
We got in, the whole Wikipedia thing. Like we are in the system. We have access to everything.
Right.
Which means we know your little daughter, Susie's got a soccer game this Thursday. Exactly. Like then they start throwing all that out there.
Yeah.
And then your clients are just totally they start freaking out, and it's a whole nother level of everything.
Right.
But what I've also seen, I guess it's like an easier scam, is hacking into emails, sending an email to a customer or vendor,
a trusted,
saying, "Hey, we changed our banking info. You've got an upcoming invoice. Here's the new banking info."
Right.
And I've had clients who have fallen for it, and I was like, "Here's what you need to do." We have a 10-step process. If we get new banking info or a new vendor, I'm like, here's everything we got to do on the back end to verify before a penny goes out the door, because it's easy to happen, and they don't have to be quote unquote in your system.
Sure.
And you're sending them money freely.
That's right.
And that's so much easier for them.
Right. Yep. It's I tell people too, like, there's a ton of good managed providers in Louisiana. There's a ton of bad ones. And I tell people, like, if you're having to call your IT provider and tell them, hey, I think somebody's in my email. I think my email's sending out, then they need to, they should be telling you that. They should know that immediately whenever that happens. The account should be shut down, or they should be at least alerted that something's going on. So we see that all the time. So because they'll say, well, I got this email from,
came from their email address.
It came from their actual email address, and it's somebody I've done business with for 20 years. It's like, yeah, they're hacked. And now you're hacked because you typed your password in. Oh, and that 2-factor code that popped up, and you typed it in, you gave it to the bad guys. That wasn't Microsoft. That was, so like a lot of our 365 portals for our clients will custom put their, like, if you don't see your logo, don't ever put your password in. Like, it has to have your or a special background, or, like something very distinct. Like, if it's a trucking company, you have a giant 18-wheeler as the background. If you don't see that, then that's not your portal. That's some hacker trying to get your stuff.
Right.
So we do a bunch of different, like, simulated phishing. A lot of people are doing that now, but like simulated phishing on the employees, or we'll drop we'll simulate like a very real looking, hey, this is Microsoft, your account's about to expire, and they'll give us their password, and we can go to the business owner or the manager and say, hey, look, this person gives us their password every time, so let's train them more, because email is your biggest risk, and then the people giving their password away is the even bigger risk. So even with 2-factor, it happens all the time where they'll put their password, they'll give the bad guys the 2-factor code because they think it's really Microsoft or Dropbox or whoever.
Oh, Dropbox is always notorious. If I get a link to a Dropbox, I'm calling the person. Hey, did you send me this Dropbox link?
And it's so funny because we'll ask them, we'll be like, have you done business with these people in the last 10 years? Like, no, we did a project years ago. I'm like, well, then why are they sending you something? Well, they shouldn't be. I'm like, well, then don't give them your password.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is the human side of like helping them figure out, helping the clients, employees learn, like, hey, don't click that. Don't, that's not legit. So limiting the blast radius to when it happens, have a plan, have a backup, have things that disable accounts. Because, like we tell our clients, like, it's going to happen at 2 a.m. while we're all asleep. Nobody's going to be awake. We're not going to have people around the clock. Well, that's why we have the tools we have with those people. We have we have a human threat hunting team that we pay for to help those clients, to help watch those clients' systems. So when it happens at 2 a.m., those accounts get disabled, and a real human looks at it and says, okay, that's legit or not legit. So
as a service provider, how are you checking those systems you're providing?
Right.
Meaning those real people that are doing that stuff.
Yeah. So as far as like if they're legit or not, or just in general?
Their continuation of legitness, I guess. How do you make sure that they don't then get susceptible to mistakenly hiring through a poor practice, poor implementation? So they hire a bad hacker.
Right. We're not, everything we use is industry standard. It's it's the the top 1 or 2 businesses that do this, companies that do this. So like we're using, it's like the Ford or the Chevrolet of the cybersecurity world. We're using kind of the gold standard of tools to help monitor that stuff. So I guess it's possible they could, have a bad apple in the bunch, but for the most part, because a lot of times when something happens and we interact with the person and we talk to them like, hey, how'd this happen? How'd they get in? What do you think this is? And they actually, they'll do an investigation. We can chime in too, because sometimes you do get some false positives, but, a lot of times we know pretty quick, it's very clear what happened. Like, hey, this email address that logs in from Louisiana, 99% of the time, all of a sudden got a login from, California or Russia or Canada. And we know, okay, that was not them. They're not traveling, and we can shut it down pretty quick. So
with the recent the releases, right? Everybody's always been a victim of the Department of Motor Vehicles.
Yep.
I think was a recent one in Louisiana.
Yep.
Like, how do you, I guess, reassure their clients? Because they're, as soon as it happens, they're calling everyone. I'm sure you got blown up. Hey, can this happen to me? Is my system up to date? Like, everybody all of a sudden just starts doubting what they've been paying for, what's in service. What do you do as a provider in that case?
So for us, a big part of what we do is, like I said, we meet with the clients. It's a monthly, quarterly, whatever they want. You know, some of our customers, it's like when they're on the road from New Orleans to Baton Rouge or to wherever, like that. You know, that drive time, it's like 15-minute call with us where we're talking through, hey, what you got coming up? Oh, you got a project coming up in Gonzales, or you have we're thinking about opening an office in Lake Charles, like whatever. We can kind of have those, so we're always talking and keeping them in the loop to make sure that, they know. And then on outside their business, on the personal side, I tell everybody, I was like, lock your credit on every single, like keep it locked. I wouldn't unlock it unless you're going to buy a car or a house or whatever. I tell everybody, you lock it out on all the the big three, TransUnion and Equifax? Is it Equifax?
Equifax, yeah.
The other, whatever the other one is. I was like, keep it locked full time because our state has been hacked so many times.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I mean it's like you open up a news app and it's like, oh, whatever whatever department of the state it is that day. So I tell if you're in Louisiana, like keep it locked. Don't unlock it unless you have to buy something.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of apps out there that'll monitor it, but for the most part, I let them. I tell them like I wouldn't unlock it unless you just absolutely have to.
Yeah, like I've used a couple of those apps that'll like remove your stuff from the dark web or something of that source. Yep. But yeah, keeping my credit locked and then always having it set up so I get like notifications if something happens. Yep. Oh, you got this credit increase, or did you open a new account here? Or this stale credit card you've had open for years now has a bunch of charges on it. Is this you? Like all this and that.
Yep. It's just a whole different, and a lot of until it happens. Like I think of one client in particular, and they were trying to do all the right things, but it was like, hey, we're so busy. It's our busy time of the year, and then when they got hacked, it's a whole different ball game. Now they're thanking us like, I'm so glad you convinced us to do this. I'm so glad we had this in place. But I tell everybody, keep it locked. Different password, 2-factor everything. I mean, even like Facebook, you see it all the time where somebody's selling it's like estate sale, and I'm selling my lawnmower for $500, and it's like it's obviously not real, but it's just they've been hacked. So.
Oh yeah, the whole social media hacking and frenzy is crazy. Yep. That people will go to just get like what's your gain here? Yeah. Besides just destroying this person's life.
That's right.
Like I had a colleague who his email address or something got hacked, and he said it got so bad. It was every minute or 2 minutes I was getting 300 to 500 new signups.
Right.
Oh, so it was just a spam bot, I guess. Yeah. He was like, I just made a new email address. He's like, I'm done with it. Right. I'm not even going to try to like redo all that. If people want to talk to me, they'll get a new email address.
Absolutely.
But it's tough to deal with that because now you've got this whole AI world.
That's right.
Where people are trying to figure out how can I utilize AI in a good, positive way.
That's right.
But then people are also using AI to just get more efficient at hacking.
Yep.
So for your customers that are trying to implement AI, how are you able to kind of look at their landscape and say, here's some ways you can implement it? And then do y'all actually help build internal systems for them?
Kind of. We really kind of just advise them. It depends on the business, what they're doing. I use it. I use it all the time. It's just so easy to use for different stuff. We even use it like we had a day. Me and one of my guys we had a busy day where we had to be here for lunch. We had to be here at 2:00. And so we basically said, hey, AI, I've got to be at this address. I've got to see these other 4 people today. How do I do that efficiently? And it was like, you go here at 9, here at 10, and it like planned our route out. It's simple, but it's like, it would have taken me an hour to do manually, So, most of it's still so new. AI is just, it's such a new thing, but a lot of our clients, it's really just beginning to become a thing where they're actually even willing to talk about it. Like, hey,
or even know what it is.
You know what it is, yeah. Especially some of our older clientele, like it's like, hey, But some of the younger people, I see it a lot where they're really relying on it for stuff, especially like communication, email, answer, making stuff sound professional. Social media posts, you can almost tell now that, which ones are AI generated. But it is really just, I tell people like people don't realize it is like it's the industrial revolution of the, 2025. I mean, it's going to change our lives in so many ways. I think good, but we also have to be careful too.
Oh, we have to be extremely careful. So using the accounting world example, I've got some friends of mine who will have this AI software they pay a monthly subscription for that they will use for research.
Right.
Because they'll type in a simple prompt, starting a new business. What do I need? It's going to be me and 2 people. And then it'll walk you through everything that you need. But more importantly, what their tool does is it cites the statutes or it cites the tax code that it's referencing.
Right.
And you use your generic AI that everybody loves to use. You can get it to do that, but you have to tell it to. It's like, tell me, prove, show me your work. Tell me where you sourced this from. And it works that way.
Yeah.
And it can be a great researching tool.
Yeah.
But then you have people that just start relying on it to type emails, and then you'll find out, okay, they did 3 rounds of make me sound more human. Make this sound more human.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is not you.
Yeah.
Because we all have a certain way we type, whether it's text or email.
Yep.
You've got your own tone and how you just say things.
Sure.
And so getting into that is now well, I didn't know you didn't type this out.
That's right. So speaking of that, funny story, we had a guy a few years ago that we're kind of doing a back and forth negotiation on a business deal or an acquisition, and he sends this long email, and I was like, man, it doesn't sound like him. So I copy and pasted it. I dropped it in, the most common one everybody uses, AI, and I said, did you generate this email? And it's right back and said, yes, I generated. It knew that it wrote that email.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's all open source,
right?
Well, unless because you can pay for it,
that's right,
and then it's closed source.
Yeah.
But when 99% of the people are using open source, I guess you can say, "Did you write this email?"
It was like, it was real probably like, "Thank you so much for your consideration." And then I was like, "Man, he doesn't talk like that." And our chain of email, and so and sure enough, it told me, and I was like, I sent the guy a screenshot. I was like, "Hey man, thanks for the email," but I was, and of course we laughed about it, but it was like it knew that.
Thank you to our wonderful sponsor, Lake Men's Health Center with Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group. Guys, I know it's tough to get out and go to the doctor. I know it's challenging to find time in our busy days, but I promise you, signing up to be a part of this group with Dr. Curtis Chastain and Dr. Tyler Boudreau, you won't regret it for several reasons, but most of those being the fact of the time it saves, where you're able to get in on the same day, get that appointment done, and spend that time you need to talk with them about what your health goals and concerns are, as well as ensuring that the financial investments you have, you will be able to live out and see those come to fruition. So if you're an investing guy, you know all about and planning for the future and investing in the future. There's no other more important thing to invest in than your health. Make sure you go check them out, Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group Men's Health Center, and tell them Patty G sent you.
Some random off topic, my wife and I have some Airbnbs that we own, and there's a tool now that'll plug in and do the messaging for you. It's AI, but it'll read all your previous years worth of chat history, and it'll talk based off of what you would say. So you text me and say, or send a message, say, hey, toilet's clogged, what do I do? And it looks back and knows, okay, the last 25 times this happened, here's how they responded. It'll actually respond and sound like, even to the extent some people text and they'll instead of putting Y-O-U, they'll put the letter U or whatever, it'll even copy that.
It copies your grammar.
And grammar and the tone and all that, which it was a great product, except for if somebody responded to it, it would always respond. So it's like, thank you so much. And they would send all the, another paragraph.
So then they started finding out that it was AI.
Stop talking. Just quit responding. We're good. We're done.
Yeah. Oh, that's hysterical.
It's it is so cool, the stuff it can do. And even on the cyber side, there's so many tools now. We have an email or it's email filter, but one reason we use it is it'll actually read the email and it'll detect if it's how you normally, the tone you normally use or your normal verbiage, and it'll put a banner and say, hey, you email with this person often, this is not how they normally talk, and it'll highlight the sentence and say it knows, the hackers will say dear sir, can you please wire me $10 million, and it's very proper or whatever.
Yeah. Hey, I'm late for a meeting. Yeah. Can you please go to the Walmart and get me 6 Visa gift cards?
Right. And so it uses AI now to analyze all those conversations, or even like if it's an attachment, will say, you've received 25 pay apps in the construction world from this person. This one is a different bank account number. It'll put everybody sees the banners where it's like external email. Everybody ignores that. Well, now, or I'll say this email is from outside your organization. Like, you just get used to it. You see it every day. Well, now the software we use is specific to that email and says, hey, you normally email Brent.Causey at Coretechs.it. This email is Brent.Causey at Coretechs, but the S is $.it.
Yeah.
Or the S is a 5 and your eyes don't catch that. Well, this software we use, it'll use AI to kind of throw those banners up, and people are like, wait a second. I thought I was talking to, so that's a cool use of AI we're using right now. So
yeah, and I've seen, that's kind of always the go back. The simple terms of teaching your team,
right,
is telling them, well, it said it came from you. I said, but did you click on the name to see what email address it was coming from? Like, that's such simplistic terms of it. But no, the AI world is insane. So like, we've got 6 years of cataloging my voice,
right? Me
talking to different guests, how I interact with them. And so Jay he was like, let me see what we can do with AI. Created a whole podcast of me telling stories about, I think it was dinosaurs or something.
Yeah.
And like, to an untrained ear, they listen to it like, oh, it sounds like, Patty G or whatever. But like, then you give it to my wife and she's like, no, it's not you.
Yeah.
So like, the people that really know can tell.
Yeah.
But to the common person that would listen to it, like, oh my gosh, this sounds, this is, I didn't know Patrick knew so much about velociraptors. Like, this is fantastic that he knows all this stuff.
Right.
And so you run the risk of that the more and more that you're out there, that people can take it, twist it, use it, manipulate it, so much so that they had a while of people like just spoofing videos of people. And it was like, well, you got to be very careful about what you see online publicly if you're out there.
That's right. Especially so like a lot of our clients, that's their big gotcha is to do like wires. It's a voice authentication. And it's like, well, that's the easiest thing now to spoof. It's, especially if you're, like you said, if you're out there, if you have, if you're the CEO of a company and your website has a 10-minute video of you giving an address to your people or whoever, like, okay, all the words you just used, they can take that, spin up they can just clip that. I approve the wire. Like, that's a pretty easy one. So that'll be something in the future that'll have to be figured out. But it is, it's going to change our industry. And then I think, even everything, our whole world is going to change, and it's going to get better. It's going to get smarter. And I think it's really cool. It's just making sure it's used for good, Yeah,
and then it's realizing how can you implement it into your own day-to-day life that's going to help you be a better business owner, business leader. Into it's very much trying to push AI, specifically in like a QuickBooks Online fashion, right? And so like today I was going through and looking through some stuff, and it said, oh, this person is late or whatever. Like, do you want to send an email reminder to them?
Right.
And it gave me categories of the inflection of the email.
Right.
And it said 0 to 5 days, humorous, 5 to 15 days, stern,
right.
15 to 30 days, serious, north of 30, angry. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is, and like, it tells you based on, what your payment terms are, like it'll automatically tell you, oh, we're going to go with a more serious tone because this person's 25 days late in their payment. And it'll type it all out, and it's just like,
that's crazy.
That sounds really good. That was never how I would type an email.
Yeah.
But it sounds really good.
Right.
And it, maybe people will read it and say, oh, like their AR department's really getting down on me. It's like one person is clicking a button, send email, send email, send email.
Right. It's crazy.
So then you're left to sift through what's fake and what's real.
Right. Yep.
So how do you help your or do you help your clients kind of strategize forecasting what type of software they could need, or what's this product's now available that does what this one doesn't?
That's a big part of what we do. So a lot of our clients are in the construction space, the architect, engineer, contractors, so AEC industry. Because that was a big part of my life for 10 years was going to these conferences to figuring out what's new. But all of our clients, that's a big thing. They'll come to us and say, hey, we've been on whatever, QuickBooks or Sage for 20 years. What's out there? And so a lot of what we'll do the research, come back and say, hey, let's have a meeting. We'll go through and give them some options. Ultimately, they have to figure out what works for their business, but we are a big part of that process, figuring out like, what's new, what's best, especially on the technology side. Like maybe not specific to an accounting firm or to, but like just like generic, tools for like group SMS messaging or, whatever it may be, like that, like every business would use. We're usually pretty involved with our clients on that perspective. So
yeah, because you don't have time to know what's out there.
That's right.
But then, as with anything, the software is only as good as how much you use it.
Yeah,
you can have the best tools in the world, but if you don't use it, how do you combat that particular situation where you've got this new software you're trying to roll out and they use it they use everything for the first 6 to 12 months, or you probably have like a statistic that new companies will use the new software for the first whatever many amount of time, and then they start trailing off.
Sure.
And then how do you kick them back and in gear and say, hey, you've been using people love carbon, right? It's like, oh, you've been using carbon well for the last 6 months.
Right.
You started dropping off and not doing that.
Sure.
What's going on? How can we better help you get back in the right path? Or is that even a responsibility you take on?
Not really for us. Usually that's between the employees and the business owner, depending on what it is. Like on some of our tools we use, like say our cyber training, we have a software that's like you watch a video, it's kind of fun, you take a test. So like a lot of our clients use that as like an incentive, like, hey, we'll give a gift card or $100, whoever has the highest score. They get competitive over it. But as far as like, if we roll out a software for a client or help them and they don't use it, it's really between the employees and the business owner or the manager or whatever. So
yeah, well, I guess if they go to their dashboard and they see I'm paying this much for that software a month and we're not using it.
That's right. Yep.
Man, I mean, it's an ever evolving world that is constantly just at the back of people's mind or the front of their mind, depending on how much they've been influenced by their interaction with. Whether it's a cybersecurity risk, or so on and so forth.
Sure. Yep.
So on the CTO side, like y'all are like their chief technology officer.
Yep.
How does that work for clients?
So we call it a VCIO is what we call it. So virtual CIO. That's we have a I do a lot of that. And we have a guy that does most of that. Where it's like I said, it's quarterly, it's monthly, where we actually sit down with the client. Like I said, maybe a phone call, maybe a Teams meeting, to where we're trying to figure out what's next. Are you shrinking? Are you growing? Are you selling this piece? Like, what's next? How are we your partner in that from a software standpoint, from a, procurement? Are you looking at, are you adding 20 new people? Do we need to add a new server? Like, so we try to, all of our clients, we try to partner with them from a perspective of like, hey, we're an outsourced employee, but we have employees that, this person may be the VCIO, this person may be the technical role. I may bring a perspective of 20 plus years of, IT, whatever. And so we try to be that partner with them. However that looks, everybody's different. Some people, they want to meet in person every month. And some it's like, it's a phone call on their way to the airport. Like, and it's just like, hey, I got 10 minutes. Let's talk about this. And we plan what's coming up, hey, we're about to grow. We're about to do this. We're acquiring this company and merge, and we need to take their 365 tenant and ours and merge it. And so that's a big part of our success, has been partnering with those, being partners and being actively involved with our clients. Not just you call us when something's on fire and we put the fire out.
Right, so, which is what they would used to do with IT, and it used to be, is it on?
Yep.
Did you turn it off and then turn it back on? Did you restart it, plug back in, unplug, plug back in? It's a lot more complicated than that.
That's right. Yep.
So, man, this has been great. But before we get you out of here, we have a set list of questions we ask every guest. What is something you did as a kid you wish you could still do today?
Sure. I thought about this some. So I think having just like an unplanned day of just like whatever happens, whether that's like going to your grandparents' house or playing outside, we're just like, there's no, I think you asked me something earlier about what first thing I do when I wake up, and it's look at my phone. It's like, okay, is this, clients on fire or whatever, having that just nothing, no responsibility, just a day of just like living in the moment. We just don't have that anymore with our phones, with our businesses, with kids and families. You don't have, just even when you're off, like Good Friday or Easter, whatever, like it's still you still have so many people that are relying on you for a paycheck or a decision or whatever. So it's that day of nothing, a day of just no responsibility, just like, I'm going to go play outside. I'm going to go whatever, So I think that's a big thing that I think was something I'd miss.
Yeah. A day of nothing. That's a good one.
Yep.
You've seen a lot in the IT space, of course, over the years as it's evolved, but more importantly, from both sides, being internal and external for organizations. What are like 3 lessons you've gathered throughout your journey?
3 lessons. Always take advice from people smarter than you, even if they're not in your field. They're almost always somebody smarter, and listen to them, what they have to say. Number 2, 3 things. Let me think. 3 things. Tell me. Ask again. Ask the question again.
What are 3 lessons you've learned along the way?
Okay, that was
taking advice from someone always smarter than you.
Right. 3 lessons, man. I think anything is possible if you try hard enough. Like I learned that with Lincoln Builders. They were just good people, good-hearted, hard workers. I don't think they had any kind of special formula. They just were good at what they did. So I think a lesson I learned there and really changed my life was like, going after a goal, and like you can do it. Like you don't have to be you don't have to be you don't have some special gift or some special last name or whatever to run a business. Like if you want it bad enough, do it. Take the risk and do it. And then 3, I think, would be don't take it too seriously. Just like enjoy it. Whether you're an employee or a business owner or whatever, just enjoy your the little bit of time we have on this earth. Enjoy it and don't take it too serious.
Oh yeah.
So
those are 3 great ones.
Yeah.
What is something you love about Baton Rouge?
For me, it's the food. I love just the hole in the wall. Like, what do we have? What was the po' boy place we had?
Rocco's down in New Orleans.
Yeah. No, we had it in Baton Rouge.
Oh, the Baton Rouge location. Yeah. Phenomenal.
I mean, like Rocco's. Oh, come on, you got to edit this out. But with the burger place over by Industrialplex,
Riverside Patty.
Oh, dude, that's my jam. Riverside Patty. It's like, I mean, it's just like there's nothing to it, but it's just good. Like I love the food here. I love the people, the culture, but the food, man, is just like, there's not a whole lot you get that's bad. Cheese curds at Overpass, even the burger at we were talking about it earlier. The Superior Burger is like one of my favorites.
Oh, it's good.
So I love that. I love the culture. I love the food, man. I really do.
We got a good food scene.
Yeah.
And it's like, you got to look, and once you look, you're like, it's everywhere.
So let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Top 3. Give me some
top 3. What?
Food place. Like if I'm traveling here from Atlanta.
Okay. You're traveling here from Atlanta. Are you coming on business or pleasure?
Oh, both. Let's say business. Okay.
I'm coming here for business.
I'm here for 3. I got 3 evenings and I want to eat 3 meals.
Okay. Are you looking to be at a higher end or just more casual? And are you coming with family?
My wife. Just me and my wife.
You're coming with your
wife. Me and my wife are coming from Atlanta. We got 3 nights.
You got 3 nights.
And there's no budget.
There's no budget?
No.
Okay. So, coming in from Atlanta for 3 nights, I'm going to say you want to start on the lighter end in a place that we always love to go, mostly because it's not for its authenticness, it's just for the atmosphere of it, would be Superior Grill Mid-City.
Like it.
Start there.
It's my favorite burger, by the way.
It's a very good burger. It's really good. Then from there, you want to elevate it a little bit more, and you want to go to a Colonel's Club.
Okay.
So start in the piano bar for a cocktail hour.
Okay.
And at the Colonel's Club, listen to the piano bar. Sometimes you can be entertained by Jay on the piano if he's there.
Nice.
And then you move it to dinner there afterwards.
Okay.
And then leave it with a bang. Supper Club. Take it back with you to Atlanta.
Supper Club. My wife and I went there for our 5th anniversary. It was so good.
Oh my gosh.
The bread alone was killer.
Like every time I've been there, it's always high class, just really, really good food.
Yeah.
So I would do that trail.
I like it.
That's a good. Now there's so many different lunch spots that you could sprinkle in there.
Sure.
But like for some fun date nights, right? You're starting off very casual from traveling. You get your Superior. Next night, let's go enjoy the piano bar.
Yep.
And then you finish out with something. But like if you're looking for a good lunch spot, and you're in like the Mid City area, Elsie's Plate and Pie.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Come
Killer.
on.
Yep.
Come on now. And then down in downtown Baton Rouge, you've got Cecilia Bistro right there on 3rd Street at Laurel. Yep. Like, so many good food places here that you just got to keep coming back.
I know people think like it's not, like it's not, it's Baton Rouge, it's a city, but it's still, it's Cajun, it's everything. I love it.
It's like it's a melting pot.
It is.
And like, that's an ongoing conversation I have to have with people is what are our ingredients that goes into our Baton Rouge gumbo or whatever the dish is? Right. What is it that makes us unique?
Yeah.
What's that flair? What's that Baton Rouge flavor?
Yeah.
And it's just, there's so much that goes into it. You can't nail it down. Like, that's why when somebody asks, what's your top 3? It's like, okay, well, I need to know what circumstance you're in.
Sure.
Because it's changed. Like, we have that luxury where it's not, doesn't matter there are some restaurants that doesn't matter what day of the week it is, you go there. Right. But it's like, what are you in town? What are you here for? What are you after?
Yeah.
What's your mouth fixed for?
Sure.
Because there's 6 different options for that specific instance.
Yep.
So you can't just say, oh yeah, my favorite, like it's like, no, like if I'm with the kids, I'm going to go to this place. If it's just the wife and I'm going here. Like it's 2 different places or it may be the same place.
Right. Absolutely.
So then before we get you out here, what can I do to help you, man?
Well, just put in a good word for anybody who needs cybersecurity managed IT services. That's kind of, we got office in Baton Rouge and Ruston. We service clients in all over Louisiana, East Texas, South Arkansas, from accountants, attorneys, say construction. We got some churches, nonprofits. So we, a little bit of everything. We're looking to grow. We're looking to add good clients. So, there's a lot of clients out there, but our big thing is like clients who, really want to focus on their cybersecurity. You need a partner in managed IT. We're very personable. Most of our team is no geek speak is what I tell people. It's more, I don't want to say normal people because that's what's normal,
for us normies over here.
It's we try to really be real people. Integrity is a big part of our business, and just giving people real world advice and partner with them. So that's what I'd ask. If you know somebody who needs some real world IT, we're here. So
you got it, man. Will do.
Cool.
So thanks for coming on the show. Yep. Appreciate your time today. And awesome. Thank you, everybody else, for tuning in or watching whatever platform you're on. We're going to have them linked up in the show notes, so be sure to check them out. And we'll see you right here next week on the next episode of the Patty G Show. We're out.